welcome to Electric City Archives. My name is Buell. I'm the Schenectady County Historian. We are here today at the Schenectady County Historical Society in the Grimm's Doolittle Library, talking to Emily Spinner. Emily is the clinical medical librarian at Ellis Hospital, which sounds like an interesting job. But first, Emily, tell us a little bit something about yourself, where you grew up and where you went to school.
Sure. So I grew up in Altona, New York, which is a really small town in northeastern New York State on the border with Canada. I went to high school at Northern Adirondack Central School. I actually majored in agriculture. So I learned how to weld and drive a tractor when I was in high school. Then I went to Vassar College from there in Poughkeepsie and ended up at the University at Albany, which is where I did my master's degree in U.S. history, and I also have a master's degree in library and archives from there as well.
And when did the idea of becoming a librarian kind of take shape in your head?
It's kind of funny because there's a book series called The Accidental Librarian, and that title of the book, that it's the accidental health sciences librarians, people that just fall into these kind of jobs. After I graduated from the university at Albany, there were no archives jobs open at the time. It was we were still recovering from the recession. And so I actually found a job working as a grants librarian for a company that wrote healthcare grants in Troy. And I worked for them for about 3.5 years. And then a job opened up at Ellis, and I was living in Schenectady. So I said, this seems perfect. And so now here I am.
So what does a clinical medical librarian do?
Well, actually, my title is now Research Innovator and Informationist. Because when they give you more things to do, they give you a different title.
Right.
So I am the person that looks up things that doctors don't know the answers to. I actually work for Dr. David Liebers, who is an infectious disease doctor. So when he has organisms and he's not sure what to treat them with, he asks me to look up stuff for him. I also serve on a number of committees where I do background research to find best practices for different things being done at the hospital. Sometimes I get to do my own research. We recently, one of the project teams I was on in psychiatry actually had an article published in in one of the psychiatric nursing journals, and it was on, we were testing a tool to see if it could predict readmissions for psychiatric patients within 30 days.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that sounds interesting. So at what point did you think about becoming a librarian? And then at what point did you kind of steer toward working at a hospital?
Honestly, I never thought about becoming a librarian. I had a library science degree. I really wanted to be an archivist.
Mm-hmm.
I love history. My grandfather was the historian of the town of Houstonville down in Dutchess County. And when I was a kid, he would drag us through old cemeteries and show us like gravestones. And so that's kind of how I grew up, is with my grandfather, like teaching us all this history. And so I really actually wanted to be a historian. But then I kind of fell in love with information science and categorizing things and organizing it and finding information. And I guess that's how I ended up where I am today.
Mm-hmm. So is there a actual library at Ellis Hospital?
There is. We finally just got a sign this year. We are in the ground floor of the hospital. We're located across from the cafeteria. It's basically a one-room library, but we also have a separate computer room. But most of my services I provide online. We have a website that people can contact us through. I serve doctors, nurses, also we have nursing students and the family medicine residency practice, so I kind of help everybody with that.
And you didn't need a medical background of any type? It must have been a little bit unnerving.
Not really, because when I worked in healthcare grants, helping with the submission process, I actually learned a lot about the field of medicine and what hospitals do. So And then when I was younger, I actually trained to be an EMT, and my mom was an EMT, so I kind of grew up around like medical terminology and stuff. So it was an easy transition for me.
Yeah, okay. So do you get the neurosurgeons rushing into the library asking for the latest medical journal on brain surgery because they forgot how to do it, or?
Well, we actually I don't believe we have brain surgeons at Ellis right now.
Okay.
But people will call me or email me frequently, or they'll come running into the library and say, I need help finding this or that. And we can usually find stuff for them pretty quickly. If I can't find it immediately, I usually can request it through interlibrary loan for them for like the next day.
So are you looking at your computer doing this, or are there shelves that you're looking at when you're looking for information?
Everything's pretty much electronic right now. We do have some older journals from 2006 to 2013 that I use mostly to fill interlibrary loan requests from other agencies. But yeah, most of what I do is online now. It's so much faster and easier to connect with somebody if you're sending it to them electronically than it would be trying to find them in the hospital and hand them a paper copy. So.
Tell us a little bit about the Ellis Digital Photo Collection, which is now located in this place, I believe.
Yeah, so it was donated, the Ellis photograph collection had actually been donated to the Historical Society before I started working at Ellis Hospital. But I was really interested in seeing some historical photos of the hospital because people had been asking me, do you have a photo of this? Do you have a photo of that? That's something that gets directed to me a lot. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we could digitize these? I serve on the board of the Capital District Library Council, which is in Albany, and I know that we gave out grants for digitizing old materials like this. So I worked with Mike Maloney, who used to be here at the Schenectady Historical Society, and we got a grant to digitize that collection, and now they're up on New York Heritage.
So when somebody comes in and asks you a question about when was the hospital created, was it 1884 or 1886? Are you going to tell them, don't bother me, go find somebody else?
I have a copy of Larry Hart's Hospital on the Hill sitting on my bookshelf. So
okay, that's neat. Let's see, you were also an intern at the Mabee Farm at one time?
I was actually at the Mabee Farm from, I want to say 2005 to 2007. And just recently I was looking back through my genealogy and I discovered that I think it's my 10th great grandfather was actually Jan Mabee's brother.
Oh.
So I was related to the Mabees and didn't even know it.
And Jan Mabee is the original landowner out there, I believe?
Yeah, I believe he's the one that built the house.
Okay. And I wanted to ask you about Northern Adirondack Central School. That sounds like it could be the biggest school district in square miles.
It may be. I'm not really sure exactly how many square miles we covered, but I think it was like 9 towns that we covered, and it was pretty small. I think my graduating class was like 65 people or so.
Really?
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Emily, what do you do in your spare time, if you have any?
Well, I just got a puppy yesterday, and she is still potty training, so that takes up a lot of my time right now. I love to travel. I have 2 kids who are 10 and 13, so we spend a lot of time doing stuff together. So that's pretty much takes up all my spare time.
And people don't come into the library and take out books, do they, in your place?
Actually, I do lend a lot of certification manuals for like ACLS and BLS to nurses that are trying to get their certifications and keep them current. So,
Emily Spinner, thank you very much for spending some time with us today.
thank you.